Good evening, folks. How are you doing tonight on the couch? I hope you got something nice and cold next to you. It's your boy DC, and this is Out of the Fog. We're a local matters program that has all the cool people coming by to talk about what they're doing to make our province a better place to live and work. No big deal. Tonight, Brian is coming through to talk about Rebels at the Walls, an incredible graffiti art installation fair festival conversation that he's bringing through. Many sides. We're going to hear all about those tonight. And then Denise from Awearness, from a career to her new organization. It is all about the trauma response and what she is doing to help pave the way so we feel more comfortable and confident talking about all of these things. And then finally, Breaden King from Their Media. What an incredible content creator and storyteller. And his work on so many projects that I've been involved with or have been lucky to see are just incredible. And we're going to hear all about his new book with Dr. Mike Wall, Health Explored, which is also his season 3 now running television show. You can watch it on major stations all over the world. And he's going to talk about what he does. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog, and like I told you before the break, we're getting into all sorts of interesting subject matter here now, and I want to turn the attention to the man on the couch to my left, the one and only Brian. What is going on, my man?
I'm good. What's going on with you?
Well, you look great.
Thank you. I try my best, actually.
Well, you succeed.
Yeah.
You know? Listen, I want to ask you a question. You know, seeing you around our local community, you are a community organizer, you are an artist, you are a maker. And there's activism energies in there, and we love that because we need folks to be showing us ourselves in different ways that we can engage in our community here. And so something that you brought across my desk, which really moved me, was the entire subject of graffiti. And that word, ooh, that just makes us feel all sorts of different things based on your experience with the art form. I'm going to turn it over to you. When I say the word graffiti art, what comes to your mind?
Street artists. Someone coined the term independent public art, and I think that just captures it in, I want to say, a professional way, in a way that people can understand and digest, because it's always been around. Like, we've had, like, since Pompeii, you know, Mayans, they had, even like cavemen had like scribbles on the wall. So we've always drawn on the walls. You know, you have kids at like 4 years old, and one of the first things they do is take a marker to the wall. I think it's just a sign of like creativity, the spirit of creativity that exists in human being. There's something about being the soul of a city. Graffiti, that is, the soul of a city. Because a lot of people that create this work know it wouldn't last at all. They know like it'll get taken down very quickly. But the desire to put something on a wall, to express yourself, to make sure people know you're there, you're present. Because a lot of people that get into graffiti, a lot of people that do street art, they're people from low-income households. A lot of them will tell you that, you know, doing street art saved their lives, and just that ability to be able to communicate that to someone, that I am present, because you're, again, in a low-income household, you're not even sure your votes count, you're not sure whatever you're, like, that you're not sure you exist as a person, and just the opportunity to create work and put yourself out there, put your name on a wall, create something that inspires you. I think that's just beautiful.
Now, surely you live inside the context of this conversation, and how do you reconcile the necessity to create art and commentary on the society and to feel seen with the reality of doing it in a way that works for the people who often feel victimized by the art form? And I suppose that's what your Rebel at the Walls is meant to do.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. I think when we don't give people an avenue to do something that they feel very passionate about, they will do it anyway, right? They will do it anyway. And if we criminalize the action itself, then everyone that does it is a criminal, right? I think giving people that avenue to create art that they love in the way that they want to create it is one way to, you know, show that this is welcome in the community. Graffiti artists have etiquette. Like, not all not all artists, or rather, there's this etiquette of like not hitting private homes. They don't do that to private homes, to private businesses. But you still have, like, of course, bad eggs within every community. That's a thing. So I think an event like Rebel at the Walls. Rebels at the Walls is this event where we're going to have walls in a maze format, and to be graffiti artists creating live art. So people, members of the public, can come experience artists painting, look at them as you're painting. We'll have vendors there, arts and crafters from local arts and crafters will be there to sell their wares. There will be food trucks. There would be performances, music. It's going to be a whole fair. So it's an experience where you can come and just look at members of the community that's typically shunned. And I think welcoming people in, it's like seeing a kid taking a marker to the wall and you throw them in jail. A lot of people complain about graffiti, but they're complaining about tagging and not like, there's different versions of graffiti.
And this is what I'm excited about, the work that you're doing with the community, is to dispel the mistruths and the misunderstandings around the incredible art form and the difference between doing a piece of work that is commentary but sanctioned versus tagging a private piece of public space and the controversy that creates, but the conversation that also creates is just as important as the art form itself.
Yeah, like I said, graffiti is the soul of a city. Like you want to hear what the public are thinking, what the little guy has to say about the place that he exists in, and that's most of what people are painting. It's a declaration of the existence of someone. Some people do it on like private spaces. Like I said, there's not enough public walls here. There's not enough forum for people who are interested in the art form to actually do it. So if there's no forum, then of course there's going to be issues when they do try to do it.
Well, then you're going to create that forum, aren't you?
That's exactly what I hope to do. And again, community support. People coming out to show that they do recognize these people, that they do love to see this work. Because I think for me, graffiti has affected me in ways that I wasn't even expected to get affected. I saw a piece on a wall. I was just walking by, and it said, "Same, bro." That was what was on the wall. And at that moment, I was just like, I was at a low in my life, and I just looked at it. It was just a random scribble that someone just did, and I was like, man, it feels like I don't even know why that person wrote it down, but it just felt like it was for me, And
do I ever know that? And you take me back to my own graffiti moment that changed my life. It was on Duckworth Street back in the day. A building's there now, but it was this big, huge brick space, and it said, "My heart beats, Kelly, with blood as red as the envy of every other man." And I stopped and I was like, whoa.
That's
anyway,
poetic. That's
I ended
poetic.
up buying a piece of art for like $1,000 a year later. It was some artist who did their own interpretation of that graffiti mural. Wow. So we all have our story about how the perception of graffiti art can be so diverse based on how we experience it,
Yeah.
So final word, when it comes to your message to the viewers at home as you continue to bring to life this amazing Rebels at the Walls, this fair, this installation, this experience in the summer, what would you have to say to the folks that are thinking about coming down and checking it out?
I'll say Rebels at the Walls is an event you want to be at, not only because of the incredible food and vendors that will be at the event, but just to see the art being created on the wall. Maybe you get the opportunity to change your perception, Maybe you get the opportunity to speak to an artist, to learn about the art form, because perception, I think, is what we need to think about when we're thinking about graffiti. How do we perceive it? Why do we perceive it like this? If it's a criminalized art form, why do people do it? Why is someone sacrificing their freedom to create this piece of art? I think that's something that should bring you down to Rebels at the Walls.
Wow. Well said, man.
Thank you.
I can't wait to go there. And maybe you'll come back in the fall and tell us how it went and ways that we can learn all about the evolution of what's gone on thanks to the project that you're moving forward. Will
Just
you
try
come
to
back?
get me back to this chair.
Oh my God, for sure. We're gonna see what we're gonna be wearing. Say no more.
Okay.
Guys, listen, Brian is bringing through an amazing cultural exhibit this summer. Rebels at the Walls. Google it, be about it, support it, come through, check it out, tell a friend. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break.
Your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us using our viewer feedback line, your direct connection to shaping the shows you love. It's easy. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen, and take our quick survey. Share your thoughts, and let's make your viewing experience even better.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
And we are back. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. Now, Denise to my left is coming through, fuchsia, popping off the couch in that suit. And we have an important subject we want to talk about today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, Denise, when a mutual friend introduced us and I learned about your organization, I said, wow, there's a lot going on there. But I want to turn it over to you. Tell me about how your organization came to be and what got started for you.
So my organization is called Awearness, and the letters actually stand for different words. So it's an awareness company. So we focus on trauma awareness education. It's to bring awareness to workplaces, organizations, and individuals about the impact of trauma and how it can manifest in our workplaces and in society in general. So AWARE stands for awareness, wellness, advocacy, resilience, and education.
I love it. My favorites.
Yeah. So I'm starting here. It's a very new company. So I started in the end of October.
Yep.
And I want to start at home because Newfoundland is my home. But eventually I want it to spread wider so that we're in the Atlantic provinces and across Canada as well.
That's a very interesting initiative. And may I ask you how this came to you? And I mean, you know, I already sort of have a vibe. The personal experience does move us into the evolution of our lives. What about you?
Yes. So I saw a gap in the industry of mental health and wellness. Mental health is, you know, something that is very much at the forefront now. People are trying to break stigma, but also the fact that trauma is oftentimes a source of people's mental health concerns. And also, I have lived experience, so I'm a complex trauma survivor myself and also a former foster youth.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for being so vulnerable about that, because, you know, when you're in situations where the time comes to truly share the raison d'etre of what has led us to a certain place, it's easy to pull away, but you just leaned right on into that.
Well, I always say it's because I didn't have a voice, and now I have the courage to use my voice for the greater good, to show people that you can be vulnerable, you can have things happen in your lifetime that can impact all aspects of your life, relationships, your work, you know, just interactions in general, and that you can face it and make something good of these experiences.
I love it. I always lean on, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens for you. But you have to have the resilience to get to that
resilience.
point. Hello, girl. I didn't even know. That's crazy.
Right.
Wow, did you plan that?
No.
Did you put that in my brain to say that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Well, you're good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
We're
keep
doing the telepathy.
I'll be hanging with you. So I want to ask you a question. When it comes to the work that you do and having various inroads of life that led you to feel so confident to stand up and say, hey, we all need to communicate and work together on these issues. When it comes to, you know, personal stories of trauma, I can only assume that in the work that you've done, that you have heard a few stories of the variations of how workplace trauma can manifest.
Absolutely. Well, I've recently just resigned from healthcare after a 15-year career. I've worked in education. I was a teacher also, and I've seen a lot of different stories. I've, you know, witnessed it as a healthcare provider, from my patients, from my coworkers, like even my friends, and some of my own personal experiences. How, you know, trauma can show up anywhere, and it's technically everywhere. Like, if you haven't experienced trauma, which, you know, so many people have, you've probably witnessed something that was traumatic. You know, and that has an impact on us as well. So it's a ripple effect all around.
It is, and I'm sure, you know, leading up to that decision point for you to decide to lean heavier into what you're doing now versus the healthcare experience that you had, and I mean, so many of us are living a life where we hear so much of what goes on in various wellness and healthcare corners of the room. The emotional labor that goes into certain careers, I think a lot of folks don't realize the gravity of how many situations that you are exposed to that can be very triggering.
Yeah.
And so what do you say to folks that are currently working in vocations where they're maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed and their own personal journeys are starting to be affected, or vice versa? What do you say in those situations?
You have to put yourself first. And most people, if we go into helping professions, it's because we truly want to help people. But oftentimes we dive into it and we don't realize the impact that it has on our own well-being until the after effects. And then it's almost too late. So, you know, as soon as you start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, if burnout is creeping in, if, you know, chronic stress is starting to have an impact on your physical and mental health, then it's time to take a step back and look at what can you do for your own well-being. And self-care is, like, you know, the top thing I would say to someone to try to alleviate some of those symptoms. And self-care looks different for everybody.
Well,
right?
absolutely. I mean, you know, self-care to me could be a Big Mac when I'm driving down Kmart Road in 45 minutes. But I mean, who said that? I did. But I will tell you that changing careers and some of the deeper commitments we have to make to protect ourselves and our own, you know, energies and emotions, when you got to that point, I'm sure it wasn't something that you took lightly.
No, and I mean, I'm over 50. I won't go into exactly how old I am.
You never looked better.
Thank you. But it was a very big decision for me.
Sure, yeah.
And as a former foster youth, even just graduating from college is a big thing. Like, only 3% of former foster youth actually come out with a post-secondary education.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And this is, like, you know, not my first, not my first degree or whatever. But so it was a big deal for me, and I absolutely loved my profession.
I'll tell you what. I bet there's a lot of people who are very proud of you.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I'm proud of myself.
You should be proud of yourself.
But yeah, I just see that I have a bigger purpose. I had my run in healthcare, I had my run in education and some other professions before that.
Yeah.
And I know that this is my calling. I'm using my voice because I want to step forward to give other people who maybe have lost their voice a chance to, you know, find that courage and strength themselves, and also to make people aware of the impact of trauma. And like, it can affect so many things in your organization, and to be trauma aware, you know, the whole impact of being trauma informed and trauma aware, you can reduce absenteeism. You can help, like, the interpersonal relationships within your organizations. The bottom line, like, it affects so many things, and people are just not aware of it. And, like, you know, turnover, all of the things. So.
Well, Denise, I'll tell you what, you've really opened our eyes, myself and of course the viewers at home. Thank you so much for paying attention, because as we continue to evolve into our careers, lesson number one, it's never too late to move on and to pursue what you think is meant for you. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And if you are experiencing trauma and emotional labor and the fatigue and the issues that can come up around that, well, you can just enter Awearness and get at Denise, and Homegirl got a whole bunch of stuff to tell you. So would you come back and let us know about your amazing story as it unfolds?
I will. Yes, I will. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm thankful for that. And I'm also thankful that someone like you is brave enough to come forward and to bring this really timely and important subject to the masses. So I appreciate you, and keep doing your good work, okay?
Thank you.
Guys, Denise is coming for the crumbs. Awearness, reach out and find out. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog, and I'm ever excited to be hanging out with my bud on the couch tonight. Breaden, what is going down?
This is it, man. Happy to be here. Happy to see you again.
I'm glad that you're here. And last time we were hanging, it was at the Rooms, where I had the pleasure of interviewing you and Mike Wall, the doctor himself, for a crazy book that you guys put out that is gorgeous and cinematic, fantastic, and it's doing so well. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Question one out of the way. Question number two, what led you into your career and passion as a storyteller using mixed media, photography, video, etc.?
I don't know, it's interesting because, you know, this is my third time on the show now and everything kind of changes. I feel like I'm checking in, and it's important for me to check in often because when I started doing this, I really wanted a career that was flexible and it was around what my values were. And as I began to get deeper into that career, I realized that my values are helping other people and telling their story, and I became much better at telling other people's story than telling my own. And my own just kind of, that is your story. As you're pursuing something that you're passionate about, you're telling your own story anyway. So I began to grow my career by telling people's stories, and that really evolved greatly when myself and Mike decided to expand beyond Newfoundland and travel the world and tell stories of people that never got the chance to tell their story, and especially not a story that would ever be told here in North America. And we learned so much on those travels, and I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but essentially, what I wanted to do is be able to tell stories for other people who just don't know how to tell it themselves.
And so interesting because you bring up that noble motive, and I'm so aligned and get such satisfaction out of helping others in that way. And so to your point, to give the viewers a little bit more understanding, is Breaden, who is a videographer, photographer, creative director, and Mike Wall, who is a wellness and health practitioner, teamed up for what is now, season 3 is currently on air right now. And so the boys decided to seek out what the meaning of wellness and health and what that means around the world. And so they didn't just phone it in, they packed up their bags, and they have been, how many countries?
Man, we're going on like 17 or something now. Yeah.
Worldwide, baby. Talking to all the experts and the gurus and the little everyday unknowns. And what I've been so blown away by through the episodes that you guys have created with such incredible world-class production and everything is how vast and varied the definitions of health actually are around the world. And the definitions, I could not have been more surprised by how varied they are. Were you as surprised by that?
Very surprised. Here we think about health and you think about the standard things about, feeling good and being active and all this stuff about your body functioning well and stuff. And it's very scientific here. It feels like you don't have control over it. Like you need to go to a professional to get anything to do with your own health checked out or monitored or upgraded or whatever. But when you start to travel the world and talk to people, the word health isn't even in their dictionary. They don't talk about health. They talk about happiness, and they talk about community, and they talk about eating good and all these amazing things that you're just like, why are we so focused on health? We should be focused on the things that we're doing on a daily basis, just interacting with people and doing good things and focusing on having good karma and eating natural foods that just grow around us, right? It's so not complicated when you really get down to it. One of the most influential things that someone told me, a man in Italy told me, that having a garden there is like having a fridge here. And can you imagine coming over to my house and I just don't have a fridge? You'd be like, what do you do? And that's the feeling that I get when I talk to all these people. Is that like, what do you mean moment kind of thing, right? Like that's crazy. So it is, it's amazing.
That is amazing, and it reminds us how small we are in the tapestry of the world, let alone the definitions of wellness. It's how many places have different lenses on that subject and how vast and informed based on the geography and the life experience of the people. And to watch those episodes and to meet those inspiring guests, I have to ask you, is there one that sticks in your mind as someone who every now and then just crosses, your brain and you're like, wow, that really impacted me?
Oh, man, there's a lot of guests. Over 60, actually.
Whoa,
so
yeah.
Flutter through these a little bit.
Well, the 100-year-old woman is who I think about. That must have been a trip for you guys to meet because I've seen that face of that woman in so many other different contexts in world, coverage of storytelling. That was pretty special.
It is crazy, and the most wild thing about that too is like when you think about a 100-year-old person, you're like, oh, I want to be that someday. Like I want to live to be 100, but you don't know why you want to live to be 100. You just want to live to keep, I don't know, experiencing stuff, keep eating Big Macs.
To win.
You know what I mean? Like whatever you want in life.
Win that life
You just
game.
want to keep doing it, right? Win life, exactly. But we talked to this 100-year-old Maria.
Yeah.
And she said that being alive for 100 years is a curse.
I know,
because of all the crazy stuff that she's witnessed and the death of her children and stuff. She just feels like it's a curse, right? So like, that's the thing about traveling to these places and talking to these people. Like, not everything is what you think it's going to be, and not every positive subject that we're trying to take back ends up being positive.
Yeah.
And to go somewhere, it's really, really important to not be biased about anything. I am not trying to redefine someone's story or redefine someone's opinion on something. I go there as a journalist, and I take back the information that's presented with me. And it's amazing, man. Another crazy guest that we had. Guests in general are the nomadic people of the desert that we the Sahara that we interviewed. And what's so amazing about them is they have literally nothing, and they don't want anything. They're happy with who they have around them, and they're happy to be alive, and they're grateful for the little amount of water and their goat. Like these things, you just can't forget these things when you see them, and you come back and you look at all the things that you have. It's just, how do you get that out of your mind?
Breaden King, photographer, videographer, storyteller, creative director. Tune in to Health Explored, airing on channels all over the world now, thanks to the fortune of how incredibly produced this show is and how creatively captured it is. And also the book, Breakwater Books got it. Check them out anywhere they're sold, and you on your coffee table could have Breaden's journey around the world captured for your viewing pleasure. Will you come back and hang out with us again?
Absolutely.
I love it. Guys, this is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back to wrap after this break. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the couch. Thank you so much to Breaden, Brian, and Denise, three incredible local humans with stories to tell and great work being done. Thank you so much to all of our cast of volunteers and staff at Rogers TV who help make every show go down smooth. Mitch and Perry, I'm talking to you. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, we're all in this thing together, and we are hell-bent on making all of these stories come true and to helping all the best guests tell what they're doing to help this province out. And we'll see you next time on Out of the Fog here on Rogers TV. See ya.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
We want to hear from you. Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Call, email us, or scan the QR code to take our quick survey.
You called us in, meaning you suspect foul play.
We have nothing to hide.
How do we know that this sex scandal is real?
It was completely consensual.
Do you remember all of your cases, Detective Graff?
Only the ones that keep me up at night.
This is fraud on a massive scale.
I didn't do anything.
Sit down. You'll need a good lawyer to prove it.
Well, we have one, and he's excited to meet you.
You might have yourself a murder case.
Sports is life. It's clear cut. Everything's out in the open. There's nowhere to hide. I had to prove myself, more than anyone else.
You must be so proud of your son. He's gonna go pro. The sky's the limit.
There's always a winner and a loser.
You cannot reach the sky in broken cleats.
Of course, I always want to be the winner. And I did reach the sky.
Norman Kwong, the first Chinese-Canadian professional football player, still holds records to this day. He retired from the sport in 1960 and later became Lieutenant Governor of Alberta.
We're in for something special. The best of the best. It's show